What is going on? In this video, we're talking about GoPros and indy filters and why you need indy filters on your GoPro to get cinematic footage. Happy New Year's, guys. It's been an awesome start to 2018. I hope you guys have set some intentions for this year, maybe some resolutions. Personally, me and Rachel, we don't do resolutions anymore. Our friend turned us on to this concept of just setting a word or an intention for the year to basically set you up so that you're good to go for the entire year and you don't have these outlandish goals that you just don't end up hitting. So instead of doing a resolution where I'm gonna lose this, I'm gonna get this, I'm gonna do this, instead we have a word. And we started this last year, and if you went back to our last New Year's vlog, you'll see that we sat down, did a big thing, everyone said their words. But this year, mine is expand, because my goal is to expand this channel, expand my business, expand just everything that I do, and make it bigger. Focusing on doing a documentary this year, focusing on a lot of things to basically grow what I've already started creating. And here on this channel, I'm hoping to expand and be able to bring you guys more content and more stuff that you guys want to see. So as you go into 2018, maybe think of a word or an idea or an intention to set, because that will help drive you the rest of the year. Okay, let's talk GoPros and let's talk indy filters. And I've gotten this question a bunch. Why do you need indy filters? What do indy filters do? So this is an explanation of that. Basically, what an indy filter does is it's sunglasses on a camera. Sunglasses, you put sunglasses on your face, it cuts the exposure down. It's the same thing with an indy filter. So an indy filter is essentially just sunglasses on a GoPro. And you can see I've got my indy filter on my GoPro. They basically replace the lens. So this is the indy filter, this is the camera, and they just snap right on so that you have a new lens on your camera. So what is the point of an indy filter? An indy filter gives you the ability to bring your shutter speed down. And to get cinematic footage with any camera, not just the GoPro, you need to have your shutter speed double that of your frame rate. This is a standard that was set years ago. This look of having your shutter speed double that of your frame rate was set up when people were shooting on film, and basically they had a shutter angle instead of shutter speed. So you have to think about it a little different. Think of a pie chart, and what filmmakers would do, they'd have this rotating plate in the camera that allowed light to come in every frame. And the degrees at which this was open was your shutter angle. The standard for cinema film across everything is 180 degrees shutter angle. And what that is half the pie chart. So half would be open and half would be closed. So to get that same effect with cameras nowadays is basically using shutter speed versus shutter angle. And shutter speed is essentially the same exact thing. It's just the amount of time that it lets the light hit the sensor. When you have a shutter speed that is low, like 1/24th of a second, it's gonna let a lot more light in than say you have 1/5000th of a second. So to get that cinematic footage, you wanna be at 180 degrees, which in shutter speed is double that of your frame rate. So think about it, you have 24 frames a second, you're gonna want 1/48th of a second for your shutter speed. So when you're working with any cameras nowadays, you'll realize that you can't just get 1/48th of a second and get good footage. Everything's gonna be overexposed. To be able to get that shutter speed, you have to use an indy filter. So my long-winded response of what an indy filter does is that it brings your shutter speed down so that you're able to get double that of your frame rate and get that cinematic look. So when you do this, you're gonna create more motion blur in the frame, and that's what looks cinematic. When the shutter speed's way too high, you get that really jittery look to your footage. And you're seeing it more and more. It's more common nowadays because so many of these cameras are just auto. They just boost up the shutter speed to deal with the fact that you don't have indy filters in front of your lens. But to get that very cinematic look, you gotta get that shutter speed down. So I took the GoPro 5 and the GoPro 6 out today. I tested them side by side, one with an indy filter on it and one without. I wanted to show you guys the footage right next to each other so you can see exactly what an indy filter does and how it affects your footage. So with this test, what I did is I put the indy filter on one of the two cameras and I set the shutter speed using the manual settings in Protune to be able to get down to 1/48th of a second. And that allowed me to get that cinematic look. And then the rest of the settings I let set auto, except for white balance, which I had them both at 55,000. And that's to show you that the Indy filters will change the color of the footage a little bit. So there will be a little bit of a difference when you put an Indy filter on. It's gonna do a little bit of a color shift. That's usually what happens with Indy filters. Something to keep in mind, but not the biggest deal in the world. I'm using Polar Pro's Indy filters. I have an 8, a 16, and a 32. So overall, to get the cinematic look, you want to get your footage to double that of your frame rate. So if you're shooting at 24, you want 1/48th of a second. If you're shooting at 30, you're going to want 1/60th of a second, and so on and so on. And that's how you get the cinematic look. So how do you choose which Indy filter you're going to use on your day of shooting? So like I said earlier, I have the 8, the 16, and the 32, and they're all Polar Pro's Indy filters. These things are great. They look really good. But the way you choose your Indy filter is based on strength. Each of them cut out more stops of light than the next. And the basic rule of thumb is an 8 is for like a cloudy day, a 16 is for like partly sunny, maybe lower sun in the sky, and 32 is like blazing sun, middle of the day, hottest day of the year, just that's when you'd use something like a 32. And you have to play with them, get to know how your camera responds when you put an Indy filter on. Your goal is just to get that shutter speed to only double that of your frame rate. All right, guys, that is it for today. Again, Happy New Year. It's gonna be a great 2018. Starting off the year strong, lots of stuff coming. More New Zealand vlogs are coming as well. I'm gonna work on those the next few days. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Wanderworks, and I hope you have an awesome day. I will see you on the next one.